Good evening. I was planning to tell you how happy I was to be with you after missing last year's ceremony thanks to airline delays. But instead I have to apologize for not being with you in person due to the winter storm and high winds predicted to interfere with travel tomorrow. People from Louisiana take warnings of hurricane force winds pretty seriously. The University of Maine's Phi Kappa Phi Chapter 1 has been recognizing excellence for 117 years, since founding the society on your campus in 1897. What a history you've had. The chapter regularly nominates one of its students for our national fellowships. In recent years, 5 Maine students have won this prestigious award to support their first year of graduate study. A healthy chapter of Phi Kappa Phi depends on the commitment of its faculty and staff leadership, its chapter officers. I'd like to extend special thanks tonight to those faculty and staff who serve as officers of the University of Maine chapter. All of us on the board and staff wish the chapter continued health and progress. And congratulations to all the new initiates on making the important decision to accept the invitation to join the Honor Society of Phi Kappa Phi. Once inducted into an honor society as a student, you remain a member for the rest of your life. Membership affords you a ready-made network of equally talented peers, a resume boost, career connections, and resources to support you in the lifelong learning that higher education promotes. As a historian, I tend to be somewhat autobiographical, so I'll share 2 things about myself that might offer some context to my remarks. First, I'm a preacher's kid, which makes me very conscious of how long someone talks. And second, I talk a lot about books. Phi Kappa Phi had an ad campaign several years ago called Great Minds, and that's really what we celebrate on a regular basis. Good minds doing the good work of thinking and learning that add up to academic success. People with good minds tend to be curious, to want to know, and to know how we know. They also tend to practice lifelong learning. The motto of Phi Kappa Phi is "Let the love of learning rule humanity." I like to say simply, let the love of learning rule. Love of learning is what Einstein called the holy curiosity of inquiry. It's about asking questions. It's about thinking. P.M. Forney, author of The Thinking Life, How to Thrive in an Age of Distraction, believes that the first basic responsibility we have toward ourselves and others is choosing to think. In an age of distraction, that is also our challenge. Bypassing the ever-present temptation to divert and amuse ourselves is the first crucial step toward an engaged and meaningful life. Quite obviously, Dr. Forney is no fan of multitasking, which he defines as our attempt to do the maximum amount of things in the shortest amount of time with the minimum amount of thinking. Great minds also include another group of people, those you don't know but can and will learn from. A unique group of people we will call visionaries. A few years ago, I came across a book published in 2006 entitled Visionaries, the 20th Century's 100 Most Important Inspirational Leaders. The book is a compilation of stories of individuals who had been featured in Resurgence, a magazine founded to give voice to great thinkers and activists. The leaders whose stories were told in the magazine are and were people who, in response to a century of war on both humans and nature, articulated a vision of a more holistic world, a world of mutuality and solidarity, a world of possibility. The authors define visionaries as individuals who have raised their voices, often at great personal cost to themselves. Yet they took risks and spoke out. When asked the question, what does it mean to be human? They called for a holistic worldview grounded in mutual respect and compassion. These are creative, imaginative people, many with names that would not be recognized by most of us, yet the authors of the book hold them out to us as models, as inspirations that we might be better than we are. If you've not already, you will very likely read from the works of some of these great thinkers while you're in college or graduate school. The book presents its subject in 3 categories: ecological visionaries, social visionaries, and spiritual visionaries. The list of ecological visionaries includes such notable figures as Jacques Cousteau, Rachel Carson, Jane Goodall, Wendell Berry, and Wangari Maathai, founder of the Greenbelt movement in Kenya. The social visionaries include Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Aung San Suu Kyi, Bob Dylan, Mother Jones, and Frank Lloyd Wright. And the list of spiritual visionaries includes, among others, the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, Desmond Tutu, Matthew Fox, and Carl Gustav Jung. So why am I telling you about this book? To tell you a story, because that's what historians do. Before I took this position with Phi Kappa Phi, I was founding dean of the Honors College at Marshall University, where we had one of those visionaries visit in 2010, Dr. Lynn Margulis, an evolutionary biologist whose contributions to her field were not always well received. Lynn Margulis began college at the University of Chicago at age 14 and received her PhD at age 25. In her first faculty position at Boston University, the then 28-year-old professor submitted a paper that was promptly rejected by at least 15 scientific journals. Her theory was rejected because it represented an idea that had been dismissed by mainstream biologists. But Margulis continued to press her case despite withering criticism. Today, her work is considered groundbreaking, so significant she has been compared to Charles Darwin. Perhaps best known for advancing the theory of endosymbiosis, work that challenges a central tenet of neo-Darwinism, she is also widely recognized for her groundbreaking classification of all life on Earth. 4 decades after being dismissed by the scientific community, her insights into evolution have become standard textbook fare and have established her as one of the world's most creative scientific thinkers. Now, I'm not a scientist, not even a social scientist. As I said, I'm a historian, one of those people often called humanist because we teach the humanities. So I did not know of Lynn Margulis or her work until I became involved with the committee to plan her visit to Marshall's campus. When I heard the scientists on the committee, who were uncharacteristically excited about all of this, describe her as their hero, I became fascinated, as we academics each tend to have such people, notable scholars in our field whose works we admire. You learn from these people and about these people from faculty because they have you read their articles and books. They quote them frequently, and on rare occasions they bring them to campus so you can hear them in person. So having Lynn Margulis at Marshall was pretty close to having John Marshall himself appear. From the moment she arrived until she left, she was teaching. She volunteered to meet students, faculty, whomever, to talk about her work. And when she did, not only did members of the biology faculty have aha moments, but the president of the university, himself a biologist, told me she made him want to get back into the lab. During a luncheon talk, when her laser pointer didn't work, she used a pool cue borrowed from the student center to point to her slides. She responded in French to a French faculty member, and then she stood with pool cue in hand and recited Emily Dickinson poems by heart. At 72, she exhibited an intellectual energy that made us all envious. Simply put, she made us all want to be better at whatever we do. A sad note, Lynn Margulis died of a stroke a year after her Marshall visit, where she had left a mark on everyone she met, whether we understood what she was talking about or not. Academic heroes, we all need them. People who make us reach for the stars, read a book because they said we should know what a particular writer said, point us in a direction we hadn't thought of, see with new eyes, hear with new ears, open our minds and hearts to new ideas. Your hero may not be at the University of Maine, but someone there may introduce you to that hero through a reading or a teaching or a conversation over coffee. I can't count the number of times I've moved since my undergraduate days, but I have lived in 8 different states, and I do know the number of books has grown with each move. But in each move, some box has always held a copy of John Gardner's wonderful book, now over 50 years old, simply titled Excellence. Gardner, founder of Common Cause and one of the creators of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, believed that whoever I am, or whatever I am doing, some kind of excellence is within my reach. But Gardner's belief in the possibility of excellence also assumed the agency of the individual, as he added, "Some people have greatness thrust upon them. Very few have excellence thrust upon them. Rather, they achieve it." It's one thing to strive for excellence, however. It's another to accept the responsibility that accompanies excellence. Words I've always held before honor students apply also to students honored by membership in Phi Kappa Phi. Of those to whom much is given, much is required. A hallmark of talented people is a sense of obligation, not to keep our learning to ourselves, but to share it with others through service and leadership and in myriad other ways. And that very nicely restates the mission of this society, to recognize academic excellence in all areas of higher education and to engage the community of scholars in service to others. You who are being recognized tonight are being affirmed for your personal effort and achievement. You're here because you've worked hard, and in this country, hard work is valued. But never forget that others have worked hard to help you reach this moment. Be sure to thank them, for they are truly proud of you, as is your faculty, who've also worked hard to help you succeed. Every one of you upon whom honor is conferred tonight has a balcony of supporters. Some of them are in this room with you, some back at home, some perhaps sainted and no longer able to celebrate with you. Some you may barely know or may even have forgotten. We do not walk through this life alone. And as you continue on the path of lifelong learning and thinking, honor those folks in your back balcony by giving back by the very way you live. An old Quaker saying says it simply, "Let your life speak." I'm a scholar of the Holocaust. As such, I was drawn to a podcast about Abraham Joshua Heschel, an Orthodox Jewish rabbi who left Poland only weeks before the Nazis invaded in 1939. Had he not, the world would have missed the vital contributions of one of the great religious scholars of the 20th century, because virtually the entire Jewish population of Poland was murdered in the Holocaust. In his new homeland, the United States, Rabbi Heschel became an important voice of support for civil rights and interfaith cooperation. In 1961, he offered this reflection at a White House conference. "There is no human being who does not carry a treasure in his soul, a moment of insight, a memory of love, a dream of excellence. Those of you who are being recognized for your academic excellence this evening surely had that dream of excellence long before now. Your dedication and your hard work in pursuit of that dream have earned you this honor. Phi Kappa Phi is honored to welcome you."